Alrighty, so we'll start by chanting Om. When you chant Om, don't think about just chanting through your throat. Try to it's better to think of your body like a bell. So that when you chant Om, your whole body is ringing. Just like when you ring a bell, it's not one section of the bell rings, the entire bell rings. So think of the body as a bell. See? And then chant. It'll be much more effective. Take a deep breath in. Gently take a deep breath in. And release the breath. And then you can gently open your eyes. Good. Could we open that our door? It'll be a little bit noisier, but it's nice to have some fresh air. Oh, there's Matthew Maharaj. Chef Matthew is in the house. Okay, now we get started.
Was enjoying the garden. The garden here. Sunday.
Yeah, leave it open. So we can leave it open a little bit so some air flows through the house. Yeah, thank you, Matthew. Does everybody make? Remember, at any time, if you have questions, just raise your hand, just to get my attention. Yeah, it is a satsang, of course, but it's also a conversation. So, we can flush out ideas. It's important. So today is Easter Sunday. It's nice to see everyone. Hey, you're a good Catholic. What's happening?
I'm trying to become a bad Catholic.
It's nice to visit the churches. Pranam in all the churches, all the temples, all the mosques. It's all holy places. Today, the topic is yogic patience, yogic process. In some ways, that I'm surprised anyone showed up, because that, to a lot of people, sounds very dull. It's like, why bother going to a satsang on that? The truth is, why aren't there more mystics in the world, more saints in the world? Lack of patience. It's one of those integral cogs in the wheel that allows the whole mechanism to function. Without it, it's sort of like a car without a transmission. You're not getting too far. It's extremely important. Very little progress happens without it. And people don't realize that many of the practices that the yogis will give you, they won't outright tell you, but a lot of the practices is so that you can acquire that quality, acquire that facility. There are so many ways to talk about this subject, and there's so many. We have to try to get a 360 on this, because there's many very valuable points, and we're going to do a short lab also, so that you can also get some ideas. You can take the principle as above, so below. So as above is God, the kingdom. Below, us in nature. But it's like two mirrors looking at each other. We're supposed to be like that mirror, but that mirror up there is actually perfect. Our mirror has some distortions in it. So that's beyond nature. This is within nature. See? Within nature, there's no straight lines. There's always a little bit of distortion. that distortion gives us inherent frustration. Because up there is perfect. So we inherently want to be perfect. Whether we're conscious of it or not, we want to be perfect. That's why we can acquire the facility of being impatient. Why can we be impatient? Because we want it to be perfect. So we have to learn that we're living in a world that there is a certain degree of distortion. So in order for us to acquire this sublime patience, we have to be accepting and forgiving. You know, and when I say accepting, I don't mean endorsing. I'm not saying that. Just accept things. Just accept things. And if you use the word forgiving, then there's an element of judgment. So maybe sometimes in the human realm we have to be forgiving. Why do we be forgiving? Because we have to be conscious that there's always an element of distortion. Whether it's distortion in this being or distortion in other beings, distortion is inherent in this realm. You'll even see saints that are blowing their nose with a coal, and they're involved deeply with the kingdom. So why are they catching a coal? Because in this realm there is inherent distortion. There's not perfect. See? If you had an angel from the kingdom put their finger in fire, nothing happens. A human put their finger in fire, we yell, ouch. See? We're here. So we have to learn how to live and perceive the world in such a way that we're not on freak out, we're not tensed out. Why do we have a type of tension? Lack of patience. See? This is actually where some of the Taoist studies come in, where the Taoist studies will talk about let things be, see things as they are, and now allow nature to flow. We don't do that. If God is the arbiter and the organizer of existence, we want that too. We're sort of like unenlightened mini moguls. See, up there, enlightenment, and down here, not so enlightened. But we still have the desire to control. We still have the desire to organize the universe. So we're all one way or the other mini moguls trying to control what's around us. The more that it's out of control, the more frustrated we are, the more lack of patience we have. So that causes more lack of patience, more psychic distortion. More psychic distortion, we want to control more. So it's sort of a ball rolling down a hill getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Where eventually some people become sort of control freaks. The key is to try to learn how to let go. We have to actively try to work on some perspectives. One of the ways we can look at the world is to see the world as a canvas. And then we have to realize that we didn't paint the canvas. So we look at everything and then we say, let it be. The world is a canvas and we didn't paint it. We're not the artist of the canvas. Just let it be. Don't touch it. Just observe it. See? Little difficult because we're mini moguls. We say, maybe a little more yellow there and a little more green there. We want to do that. We want to adjust the canvas, to our liking. The more we want to adjust, the more frustration we have. See? So we have to see the world realizing that it's not our canvas and it's not in our control. So we don't have control over that creation. What we do have control over, and we don't have control over the process of creation, how it's working itself out. But what we do have control over is the state of our consciousness. That's what we do have control over. So we have this desire to be perfect, and we're living in an imperfect region. That's like a formula for frustration. This is where learning how to observe and psychically lean back, psychically rest, is extremely, extremely important. This whole practice of meditation is learning how to release and allow things to be, and allow yourself to be. That has to become part of our inner disposition. We have there's four conditions, and you can say four realms of action: physical action, emotional action, mental action. Pretty much from birth to death, we're exercising all those three modes of action, the modes of experience. And with each of those modes of experience, we have an opinion, whether it's physical action, emotional action, mental action. We're always judging how we physically did something, how we emotionally responded to something, how we mentally thought about something. We're always absorbing that and analyzing our actions and adjusting. There's a fourth condition that we don't exercise. That fourth condition is the solar realm, where we're completely invested in the physical, in the emotional, in the mental, but extremely little investment in the solar realm. And that's what we hear about the solar realm from the saints and the mystics and the masters. Well, it's there, but we're not invested in it. If we're not invested in it, it's hard to acquire a great deal of its prosperity. Just like physically, there's a lot of prosperities. You run a race, you do a marathon, there's a certain joy. Or in the emotional realm, there's a certain joy. You fall in love, or you create a great piece of artwork, and it's a great expression of, or you do something with your intellect, you build a building. We're invested in it, and we get results from it. And we have a certain sense of creation. See? The problem with acquiring patience is that we don't have the sense of joy of creation. We're inherently creative beings. Inherently, we're creative beings. And if things are happening and we're not involved in its creation, we're not so happy. That's a problem. We want to create. Creation is in our bones. See? And we use the three organs of physicality, emotionality, mentality to form creation. See? Now, what if all of a sudden you have to stop your process of creation, which you've been exercising since you were born, and allow the creation to happen without you interfering? We're highly opinionated creatures. We want something to say about everything. So, problem. Problem. Now there's exercises that we must do, because you can't fix anything until you realize, one, that it's broke, and two, how broke. See? So some of the internal exercises that we do are actually quite simple but quite useful. You can go to let's say a cafe. Everyone is familiar with cafes, and you sit in the cafe window. Now your job is to observe all the people going past the cafe window. Now you're to sit there and to quietly observe, but there's a caveat. As you observe the various people flowing by, you have to watch your emotional state. There's three things you can watch. You can watch the rise and fall of your emotional state. You can watch the rhythm of your breath and the depth of your breath and the sound of your breath. Or you can sense your blood pressure, whether you're feeling like so these are barometers that you have. You know, the pattern of your breath, your blood pressure, all these things you can use to. So as you observe these individuals coming by, and you're sort of watching your internal states, you can start to become aware. At first it's subconscious, then it'll become conscious of how you're interpreting every single human being that walks past you. What your relationship is. Some you're fearful, some you're agitated, some you're pleased, some you're interested in. All of these phenomena that are happening, usually unconsciously, must come forward, because in how we relate to the world will be different gradations of acceptance of the world. See? And if you have different gradations of acceptance of the world, you have different gradations of patience with the world. See? I like this, I don't like that. I'm comfortable with this, I'm not comfortable with that. But you have to first do this type of exercise in order to see, in a very realistic way, how you're relating to the world, what level of acceptance you have with the world, what level of manipulation you want to have with the world. So you're watching, and all of a sudden you see your breath get jittery. See? So there's a certain amount of agitation going on. Before, you would just say, that person's going by, you didn't think too much about it. But it's not thinking too much about it means that the more you don't, the more unaware you are, the less opportunity you have to make adjustments in your psyche. Because you don't realize it's broke. You don't realize you're reacting. See? You don't realize that you have different levels of frustration due to your desire to control. See? So, you know, if you're like 70% control freak and you don't know it, you're going to have 70% zero patience. You know? You'll have 30% patience, 70% not so patient. And until you can make that type of assessment, how can you fix it? If you don't realize something's is broken, you don't fix it. You leave it alone. See? So this yogic process is about becoming hyper aware in a peaceful way, and then making the necessary manipulations so that you can exist peacefully. At no time in creation has this been a peaceful world. Think about it. As long as humans have walked the earth, they've been throwing rocks at each other. One way or the other, there's been some level of conflict. At all times, as long as there's humans' feet on the world, there's been saints and sages here also. With all those saints and sages that have passed through the world, this world is still a wreck. We're still throwing rocks at each other. Of course, they're here to accelerate our evolution, and they're giving means and methods of us to become peaceful, become enlightened, and stop throwing rocks. But that's the situation we're in. So we have to realize that we're unenlightened souls that are incredibly creative, and we have the desire to control the universe. We have that desire. Now, if you look at the saints and the masters, they're in the process of becoming humble and harmonious with the greater reality. They're becoming humble and harmonious with the greater reality. So they're dialing back their control. Human beings are dialing up their control. I want greater, richer, deeper emotional experience. I want greater, deeper, richer physical experience. I want greater, deeper, richer mental experience. There's nothing the matter with that. It's okay. As long as you learn that you'll absorb a lot of the nature of the corruptible world, and you'll acquire very little knowledge of the eternal world. See, you have to understand that you'll gather a ton of information about the corruptible world, the transient world, but very little about the eternal world. So you have to know where you are. You have to know where your feet are. If you don't know your condition, you can't correct it. So we watch all of these people, and we have to observe our blood pressure. We have to observe the rhythm of our breath. You can observe the rhythm. If you have deeper awareness, you can watch the pulsation of the heart. You see? Heart speeding up, heart slowing down. That takes a little more concentration, but it's definitely doable. The only reason you haven't done it is no one told you to try it out. So, I mean, if a car is rushing towards us and we're in the street, don't you think your pulse goes up? Sure, of course it does. Or if you're going to leisurely cross a nice shady street and the birds are flying, don't you think your pulse is going to go down? Of course it will. Of course it will. So it just means that the only reason you're not aware of that, no one told you to look. But if someone says start paying attention to these various processes that are going on in you while you observe the world, you'll see how you're constantly in a state of constant flux. If you were neutral, there'd be just one straight line, allowing things to be. But we're like, that line becomes a great drama, which means different levels of relationship, different levels of acceptance, different levels of patience. See? So I mentioned that fourth state, that solar state. In that fourth state, the solar state, that's a state of holding on to harmony, holding on to just a stable condition without being involved and without trying to manipulate. See? So in meditation, we're doing that practice. And then in the world, we also, in meditation, you learn how to slowly step out of your engagement with the emotions, engagement with the body, engagement with your mind. You learn how to slowly dial back. But that's sitting meditation. There's also a form of standing, walking, moving meditation where you have to learn also at the same time to hold on to that neutral silence. See? It's a neutral silence. Could you pick that up and then put it down again, my dear? Nima? Yeah. Just turn it off, please. Or address it in the room. So until you learn how to touch that silence and hold on to that silence, we're going to be all over the place. You know? We're going to want to control. The process of meditation, which is so difficult, is learning that humility before God, that God is the ultimate controller. We as mini moguls want to control. So anytime anything doesn't go our way, our patience slips away. Now I'm going to show you a very simple exercise, and I need a volunteer. Who's going to volunteer? He's nudging her. Well, okay, we're going to take these two volunteers. And we have to dial this back so that people can see this exercise. And I'm going to... So you two can sit here. And I guess the lens you're going to have to open up wide. You can sit there.
Okay.
Wow.
Perfect, you're both in the film.
This is, now you're entering into a yogic lab. To show you some of this practice. Now,
Am I gonna get soaked?
okay.
Just to see if I freak out when I get soaked, right?
I'm allergic.
Now, this is sort of symbolic of life. This is a yogic exercise. So you're going to take your hands and cup these vessels. And you have to lift it all the way up without spilling it, and then put it down. You have to do that 12 times.
Oh, this is fun.
So then, okay, go ahead and give it a shot.
Hi.
Oh no, you have to lift it up to your, at least your clavicle. Okay, hold for a moment. That was your warm-up.
Oh. This feeling. This feeling.
actually impressed.
I'm really impressed.
Really.
Oh,
I'm
so
very
another
good.
9 times.
You're counting?
Okay, I'm gonna have you hold. You guys are really quite impressive. Now there's two phenomena here that you have to become aware of. One phenomena is the phenomena of lifting the vessel and manipulating the vessel. That's one, so that you can call that the event. The other phenomena is the emotional condition in which you do it. See? Now the key is we're going to lift the vessel up and down. That's going to happen. But what we now have to control, because they've actually extremely skillfully manipulated lifting. But now let's lift and become aware of your emotional condition while you're lifting. That's the next thing. As much as you're watching that plate, watch your emotional condition or your psychic condition. Okay, you pause now. And you pause now. Now, both of you, I'd like to hear what your feedback is in terms of your experience, your mental, your physical, your emotional. All those three facilities you have to look at now. What has been your experience?
For me, I feel like there's almost an internal focusing on the water itself. And that, it's kind of reminding me of when you drop a pebble into a pond and you see the rippling effect. And that pond itself is kind of containing the water, but you're still seeing the ripples within it. And so as I physically do it, I start feeling more like I'm also moving around with the water as I see the water.
Philosophical.
Whoa, slow down.
So,
Let me write
yeah.
this.
What is the state of your mind? What is the state of your emotions? What is the state of your physicality?
Well, it always feels nice to completely focus on one thing solely, and let everything else go. So it makes me happy to have that sort of focus and not be so distracted.
And
So mentally, the more I would just disappear, and then all that existed was the plate, and it became easy. But that would oscillate into becoming more myself, and then it would become more difficult. And then physically, the more I could disappear and just become the plate in the water, the less physical pain I felt in my shoulders from the exercise itself. And then that was its challenge, to let go of that, that awareness, so that, because when that awareness came, then I would lose the physical, which was all connected. So the more I became aware of the physical, the more challenging it became to do the exercise. And then the emotional, when I was empty and I just became nothing, there was no emotion. But I noticed as that oscillated, when I came down one time, I was so relieved to be down that I lost the exercise for a moment, and I spilled a little, and I was like, so it was an amazing experience, because it was just like, if you let go of your emotions, they just become out of control. It was fascinating.
these are all important because the thing is, this is a little tough thing to do. You have to become aware of how much you judge yourself. Oh, I spilt it. Oh, that wasn't good. That's not part of the exercise. I'm not supposed to spill. There's a million things like that are going on in your head that you have to become aware of, because you can't fix what you don't know is broke, or you can't adjust what you don't know that's occurring. See, so we have all kinds of judgments about ourselves, all kinds of physical tension. You're doing something, you have to be aware. You guys are not like Zen masters going on here. There is, although with good concentration everything dials back, but there is a certain amount of physical tension in lifting, ascending and descending, ascending and descending. You have to become, it's not to be judgmental, it's to become aware of all the states that are occurring. Become aware of your physical state. What level of tension is there? There's not a judgment about it, it's just what level of tension is there. And the same thing with the emotions. What level of tension is there? You just have to look. If you don't look, you don't know. See? And then the same thing with the mind. What is the state of the mind? Okay? Now we're going to continue this exercise, but what I want you to do is take a deep breath first, and I want you to completely focus on an inner peace. Not so much the rising and lifting and ascending and descending of this chalice, but your internal state. Just hold on to your internal peace. That becomes the central focus. Now lift it, and so up and down another 4 times. Slowly, don't rush. Your psychic state of peacefulness is now the most important focus. After 4 times, then just rest. Okay, so the first series of times that they did this lifting exercise, they were focusing on process. The next series of times they did it, they were focusing on condition. See? It's really important in this self-awareness process to be able to understand the difference between process and condition. See? If we're focusing on process, we want to be right all the time. I want to do this right. So there's an inherent judgment, inherent frustration, inherent ups, inherent downs. It's active modulation if you're constantly focusing on process. The yogi wants you to focus on condition. What is the internal psychic condition? In the process, you look at the physical, the emotional, and mental and see the level of movement that happens. Now, when you're focusing on condition, you're trying to focus on the subtle, spacious peace, the open peace, which is approaching the solar condition. The solar condition is not judging anything. So it doesn't have a dog in the race. It just wants to maintain its own internal integrity. See? It wants to hold on to its own meditative, spacious peace. So when you're doing this lifting and you're not focusing on process, it's about the condition. Are you still active? Yeah, you're active. Are you still engaged? Yeah, you're still engaged. But you're focusing on condition. You're not focusing on process. As you focus on condition, over time, process will reflect the condition. See? But right, in general, what we're trained to do is focus on process. And we don't know anything about condition. So we're all over the map. We're psychically, there's no mooring, there's no anchoring. See? So we're flipping from emotional frustration to emotional acceptance, from physical acceptance to physical frustration, to intellectual acceptance and intellectual frustration. There's no mooring. We're always jumping between polarities. We're always jumping between polarities. Inherently, because of change, there's no acceptance. And if there's no acceptance, there's no peace, there's no patience. See? So we have to learn to as we're going through the world, to rely on, to focus on condition, not on process. Process will work itself out if we focus on the condition, the inner condition. See? So just a very simple example. If your inner condition, I'm speaking generally now, is happy, you can involve yourself in 10,000 events in the world, but you bring one energy to it. See? You bring one energy to it. But if you're focusing just on the outside process, there's 10,000 energies you bring to it. You're going through this constant, vast modulation between satisfaction and tension, between right and wrong, between yes and no. Because we're concentrating on the process without any anchoring to condition. See? So when we're lifting, over time, we learn to focus on our condition and then rise and fall, rise and fall. Trying to hold on to a stable, spacious, peaceful condition. If you're looking at just process, there's a certain amount of psychic tension, like, I don't want to spill this. I want to do it right. See? That notion of right and wrong, failure, success, physically, emotionally, and intellectually, there's going to be a tension. See? There's going to be a persistent modulation because there's no mooring. There's no mooring at all. See? Everything is changing from moment to moment. You know, and you realize you don't have perfect control. You don't have perfect control. It's not possible. You know, maybe you lift it lovely this time. Maybe the next time you lift it, you spill. See? And we say, oh, that one was a good one. This one was not so good. See? The spilling and not spilling, both are natural. They're both natural conditions. But some things we accepted, some things we didn't accept. I want to look good. I didn't look so good when I spilled it. I wanted A. Well, I got a D. You know? See, that's when we're constantly focusing on process. And the yogic training is to try to get us to focus on inner condition. See? Thank you, my dears.
And I gotta drink it.
We can just pour it in here. Yeah, that's why we can just place it here. There you go. Thank you, Ram Krishna. Thank you for your help. So this is an exercise to help us understand how we're living in the world. You know, if we're constantly trying to get everything right, we're focusing on the process. Inherent frustration, see? Inherent judgment, inherent lack of patience. You know? So we want to control. We want to control nature. Not possible. Not possible. You can gently regulate nature, but you can't control it. It's still going to do what it's going to do. It's inherently, down here is inherently unstable. See? You know, so, but what we do have control over is what we hold on to inside. That's what we do have control over. Outside is always corruptible. You know, even if your heart beats a little faster, the hand will move. Everything all your emotional states and mental states are going to be reflected in your actions. See? So if you're by nature volatile, your external actions are going to be volatile. See? And then you're going to judge that. And then you're going to be frustrated by your judgments. Oh, I got an A here and a D there. See? That's when you're focusing on process. As long as you're focusing on process, the patience is not going to be there. You know, because you're living in a volatile world. Actions, you're not going to get an A 100% of the time. It's not going to happen. You know, then we're going to judge, and then we lose patience with ourselves. See? So this idea of process and condition is very important, so that we can start to become aware of how to gently release, how to gently let go, so that in that letting go, the greater you let go, the greater the patience. The greater you let go, the greater the acceptance. See? And then, inside of you, there is this great, vast reservoir of intelligent kindness. That is what the whole yogic process is to try to get you to settle into. Right now, we're settled into different gradations of our physicality, our emotionality, our mentality. So it's always in flux, see? Which means very hard to be patient when something is going this way, going that way, going this way. You know, to accept every modulation of your physicality, of your emotionality, of your mentality. To accept all those modulations is very difficult. Some we like, some we don't like. Just like when you're sitting and watching the people go by, you start to realize that as different people go by, short ones, tall ones, wide ones, skinny ones, your breath is constantly changing as per your perception. As you see these people, you'll see this physical tension, physical relaxation, you'll see irregularity of breath, normal pacing of breath. We're judging every single thing. See, we would like a nice peaceful line, the Bahamas, but that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. You know, so we have to realize we have different gradations of patience with everything that we're witnessing, everything that we're experiencing. See, you can't separate patience and control. Those two issues go together. See?
So could you give an example? Let's say you find yourself in a state of frustration and you realize you're in that state.
Yeah.
Could you give an example of how you would deal with that, for example?
Well, the very first thing is what you said was correct, is that you become aware that you're frustrated. You can't fix what you don't know is broke. See? Then, on a very mechanical way, just take a few deep breaths, because that has a big effect on your nervous system, to relax yourself. And then, from a philosophical point of view, you have to tell yourself, this is not my canvas. See? This is not my canvas. I mean, I didn't draw this picture. It is what it is. Let it be. You know, if it's your canvas, you can adjust this here and adjust that there, dial this out, paint this in. But you have to realize, this is not my canvas. See, this is God's canvas, God's creation. And I am a witness. See? So release your sense of control, because you want it this way or that way. That's the human condition. If we were patient, we'd let it be. We'd let it work itself out. But we don't want it to work itself out. We want to manipulate it to be our vision. See? That's where the Taoists are really good. Let things work themselves out. You know, let it just happen. Let's see how it plays out. The Taoists are brilliant at that. See? Humans, we want to regulate, we want to control, we want our vision. See? We're like the mini moguls, the creators, the mini creators. After that, after you say, this is not my canvas, let things play themselves out as per this event, without my sense of creation. Then the key is to draw back into yourself and just hold the inner peace. Let the stream of life flow. So you can say that to yourself. Let this stream of life flow. And then try to hold the patience. And then there's another trick of mind. You can say, okay, this situation is frustrating me. What does heaven want me to see? What does heaven want me to see here? See? So that you can take it as a lesson. You know, what does heaven want me to see? As opposed to me trying to change the scenario that heaven's put in front of me. What does heaven want me to see? Like there was a lady the other day, I was in a line, and she put her credit card through and it was denied. And then she put her bank card through and it was denied. And she's going back and forth with the clerk. And everyone's standing in line. You know, it's easy to get frustrated. You know, she only had like 5 or 6 items, but she's taking up everybody's time. The question is, do we get frustrated, or what does heaven want me to see? You know, well, maybe I'm frustrated because she's inconveniencing my time. But if I was a little bit more peaceful and I thought about it, gee, her credit card was just denied and her bank card was just denied. She's broke. It means, okay, maybe heaven wanted me to say a prayer. You know, that's where I'm putting my time is more important. I should be moving through the line. Maybe if I dialed back a little bit, I'd realize this lady just had her credit card denied and her bank card denied, which means there's no money in her account. And maybe I should say a prayer for her welfare that things get better. But as long as I was tense and trying to control the scenario and trying to make myself important by saying I shouldn't be inconvenienced. See? I should be living at my pace and not her pace or the pace of the events around me. See, that making myself a mini mogul, you know, as opposed to dialing back and just seeing, what does heaven want me to see? You know, heaven showed me a person who's having economic problems. Maybe I should respond in a kind way and say a prayer for her welfare. See?
How does a scenario work with something a bit more extreme, like a feeling of violence towards somebody? How would that mechanism work then? Because you can't, in my mind, you wouldn't want to allow that to play out.
Yeah. Well, there's again many ways of everything I said prior is correct. You can add, if you have everybody should have an Ishta Devata or a favorite saint. You have to bring that in. You have to, because when we get angry in that period of time, or hyper frustrated in that period of time, you have to understand right off the bat we're mentally ill. We've slipped into a state of mental illness. Right off the bat, you have to recognize that. So, in the state of mental illness, you better grab on to something that's absolutely stable. So, it's best to think about a mantra that you have very deep reverence for, or some soul or some saint that you have very deep reverence for. And visualize them and say, what would they do? Because they're the way out of the madness. See, we've just quietly slipped into madness. This is part of the human condition. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just the way it is. When we're hyper angry or hyper frustrated, we've slipped into a state of mental illness. Be aware of that. I am ill. Be flat out straight about it. And the way out of that is the masters, the saints. You know, and then just to hold on to them, visualize, acknowledge, I am angry, I am mentally ill, and there is a way out. See your master, see the saint. What would they do? And just hold on to them. Just focus on them. Shift the attention to the saint. Or shift the attention to the mantra until you are totally cooled out. And then move on. See? But to take action, an undirected action while you're in a state of anger or frustration is a very dangerous situation. So you have to grasp something, some stable, positive condition, and hold on until you're cooled out. See? So that's the kind of thing we have to do. But again, it's pure self-awareness to know the condition. You can only manipulate what you're aware of. See? So you always have to think about process and condition, process and condition, process and condition. See, the process of doing something or the condition in which we do it. See? If we're just thinking process, very easy to get frustrated. You know? Because good and bad, right and wrong. You know, like, dislike. Yes, Matthew.
Isn't it the fearfulness and the weakness, because of that we get angry?
That can be part of it, sure.
Possible, right?
It's
Because
part of it.
most of the time getting angry that because I feel that my sustainability or my personality is getting attacked, or I'm going to die now. Inner feeling. My existence is going to be getting destroyed again. So I have to defend. So to kill the enemy, it's maybe mentally, not physically. So mentally, even different ideas throwing on me. Oh, this is going to kill my idea, so I want to destroy that idea.
So you have the word anger. One phenomenon. Anger comes from frustration. Okay. Frustration comes from ego. I. If you have the word I want this, I want that. I will this, I will that. The frustration of our will causes anger. So it starts with that I. See? And the principle of I has the principle of dominion, meaning I want to be the creator. The moment your psychic creation is disrupted, how you want the world to be, the moment that is disrupted, frustration is manifest. As frustration is increased, anger manifests. See? So you have anger, frustration, I. And inherent in I is dominion. See?
So that I was thinking about saying that I, going deeper, so that I want to be whoever, king or
Yeah.
whichever,
Yeah, I equals ego.
Yeah, that ego want to be certain condition. This want to be this way or that way, or that I want this, and if I don't get that one, the idea of the I is getting destroyed, not getting.
Frustration.
Or frustration. Then frustration comes because my I is not getting maintained properly the way I thought about it. It's kind of a thinking process, right?
Correct.
So that thinking process is getting destroyed. Actually, I'm still okay. I'm peaceful. Nobody's attacking me, but still my idea is that this is going to be this way, right? So if someone throwing another idea, which is really kind of a shooting, kind of a, oh, I'm going to destroy your idea. Oh my God, I'm going to get destroyed. This I is going to get destroyed because of my idea is getting destroyed by other person. So what happens is, oh, you are killing me, It's not physically nothing happening, but still I think that this is going to destroy me. Then I come up with an idea, okay, I want to destroy this idea, wherever this idea came from. Then I find, oh, this person is throwing this idea, so I want to destroy that person, so that idea is gone. So most of the time, so if I feel like, oh, this is not a problem, this is an idea, it's not going to destroy me. If I have that idea, even within a high, powerful way, I'm thinking about, oh, I cannot get destroyed by this idea, so I won't get frustrated because this cannot be destroyed me. So if we go more beyond like that, oh, this idea or this or that, if I don't get what I thought about, it's not going to destroy me. Is that going to work that way?
Yes and no. Let me address him and then we'll come back to you, Matthew. The notion of I, or the principle of ego, which exists here in nature, there's always going to be frustration because we have infinite amount of individuals all standing in one point of I, and each individual is seeking dominion. See? So inherently there's going to be frustration. If everyone is seeking dominion, everyone wants to be the king, and there's 10,000 of us, of course conflict. So there's inherent conflict in the human condition because of ego. Now the yogic process is to move from I to us, and then from us to one. See? So that's why this whole process of supplication to the Master, supplication to God, is a process of acquiring a humility and acceptance. See? So we're relinquishing our sense of dominion. In relinquishing our sense of dominion, we're relinquishing our sense of I. See? When we can become more fundamental So when we're sitting in meditation, we're becoming more open, more spacious. Divisions are becoming neutralized. When the divisions become more and more neutralized, there's less conflict. See? Because who's there to fight with? You know, if I sit in a loving silence and you sit in a loving silence, where's the conflict? But if I say, I am Haricharan and you are Matthew, inherently there's a tension. Because Matthew wants dominion, Haricharan wants dominion, because we're exercising our creative capacity. We're exercising our creative capacity as an individual. Now, in the meditational process, we're starting to exercise our creative capacity through the open, unlimited form of existence. See? We're taking on a cosmic body as opposed to an individual body. See? So in a cosmic body, all the human beings can be cells within the body working harmoniously together. But in the egoic body, we're like cancer cells working against each other. This cell against that cell, this process against that process. See? So this process of learning supplication, doing puja, doing mantra, doing prayer, doing meditation, all of those things are slowly neutralizing us, melting us, making us broader, spacious, more open, more accepting. Seeing the fundamental one reality as opposed to 10,000 individual cells. As long as we see 10,000 individual cells, there's going to be inherent conflict. Because each cell wants to be the king. See? But if we enter these processes, we come to a universal self. See? But you have to understand, the problem is that we're exercising our physical creation, our emotional creation, our mental creation. We're exercising those things. It's okay. But it's not ultimately okay. It's okay that we investigate nature. That's okay. But we have to go from the form to the formless, from the limited to the unlimited. As long as we're investigating nature, we're investigating something that is in a limited state. The ultimate evolution of the human condition is to move to the unlimited state. See? So that's why we practice these sacred practices, that we sort of melt or dial back into our ultimate condition, not into our relative condition, see, into our ultimate conditions. Okay, does that make sense? See?
But in that, in one more thing, so that I-ness, the I, is getting developed into a higher level.
It's becoming more inclusive.
Oh.
See, as you evolve, the sense of I becomes a more inclusive I, not an isolated I. Right now, Matthew, Hari, Christine, Victor, those are all isolated I's. And each of those isolated I's wants dominion, it wants sovereignty, it wants to control its space. See? And it feels insecure.
Yes.
Why is it insecure? Because the volatility of nature. See? The ground beneath your feet is never completely stable. So there's an inherent angst, see, in the egoic state. There's an inherent tension because of the coming and going of all things. See? It's never stable, so it's never secure. So it's always going to be a little bit aggressive, depending on the level of insecurity it's experiencing. See? As opposed to, being the drop of water, which is unstable, as opposed to the ocean, far more stable. See?
So the growth from insecure to a secure state.
That's right.
So if that is happening, so if this I feel like I'm secure, from insecure to the secure,
Right.
by yogic practice,
That's
reaching that level of secure.
Yeah.
So
The more secure
The more
you feel,
secure.
the more benevolent you'll be.
okay.
You'll be
That-
more
that I-
benevolent, and the less conflict. The less, this is God's canvas. See? You no longer want to be the artist. You're content with God being the artist of the kingdom. See?
So you feel more secure and more insecure. So
That's
the
right.
conflict in a meltdown.
That's
don't-
right.
No.
Yeah, the more insecure, the more aggressive you'll be, and the more you want to control. See, so by doing the yogic practices, prayer, mantra, meditation, you shift the security from your notion of I to the higher reality. You sort of dial back. It's like pouring water into the ocean. That water, now that moved from one small vessel into the ocean, is far more secure. It becomes a pervasive, stable condition. I, as in the human condition, is inherently unstable, inherently insecure. So it'll take a little bit of its aggression and a little bit of its notion of wanting to be the creator and try to manipulate the world. Hence the conflicts. Because each I is trying to do the same thing. As opposed to us becoming a more expansive. We have to make a dimensional shift in our consciousness. It's dimensional shifts that we have to make. Craig, you had a question?
Yeah, I was trying to come up with a way to understand the most, I guess, the most successful or the best way to make the transition from the process to the condition.
Yes.
Because I see in the world, I am trained constantly and asked constantly to follow a process.
Definitely.
And then I find it interesting because then that becomes part of your psyche. Because then you can't help but believe as long as you follow the process, you'll experience the reward. But how do you separate that to where I'm trying to figure out that so that you can become just you can deepen your condition, but you still have to operate in a process.
Exactly.
So how do you? So as I was listening, I was thinking, is that through meditation or?
Yeah, you've nailed it down really. Really. We're used to constant world process. You have to work yogic process. So yogic processes do the yogic asanas and do the breathing and do the mantra japa and do the puja and do the prayer, do the meditation. The key is forget about time. Just constantly work on these conditions so that you can slowly enter. All these practices are trying to affect a condition. See? They're processes that try to affect an inner condition. See? As opposed to we're trained in processes that affect an external condition. See? We're having to try to dial back into our reality, what we are. See? As opposed to our notions of ourselves, we want the reality of ourselves. The reality of ourself comes, that self-awareness comes to the yogic process. Prayer, meditation, mantra, puja, breath awareness, all these things. Gives us an internal process of self-realization. See? Which means coming back to our original condition. See? Our original condition. Our enlightened condition. Our self-aware condition. See?
And that, I guess, inherently changes the way you operate as a process. Because I see it as at work, like, so I'm asked to do a process. Everything is process based. But if I'm going to be successful in changing my condition, I'll see it differently. But I still have to be involved in the process of.
Yeah, you'll bring something different to the table.
Right.
You'll bring a different condition to the process.
And then I noticed about what you're saying. So then you wind up. So actually, it's incredible because then you can. Because of course my mind is attached to the outcome. Well, of course I want to raise every year, but I have to be involved in the process, right? So what you're saying is then is that if you can, so that's what I'm looking for, the transition to becoming more conditioned and more of a knowing, so that you can be at peace with whatever that process is unfolding without having, I don't know, it sounds like paradoxical, without having to control it.
Yeah, that's okay. Just think of it this way. I'm going to speak in a very conventional way. You can say the mood you function in affects the process. Okay. Now, mood is a very conventional word. What I'm saying is a very, very deeper condition. See, I'm talking about the solar condition, which is your essential self. See, all the other things are your modified ideas. By learning how to function from your deeper self, everything else will work itself out.
Okay,
But you're not trying to create or manipulate. See?
Thanks.
You're trying to maintain a condition as opposed to control a process.
Right, I see.
See? So, like in yoga, on Hatha yoga, they have the process of the headstand. Part of the symbolic meaning of the headstand is turning the world topsy-turvy, upside down. Normally, we're used to working from the outside in. Now, yoga wants to teach you how to work from the inside out.
I see.
See?
That makes more sense.
The inside out is a more stable condition. Outside in is inherently unstable.
So it's not mutually exclusive, basically.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They will work together, but it's just a different approach. See, it's the approach of the saints as opposed to the approach of man. See, it's the approach of the enlightened as opposed to the approach of the unenlightened. See, so the more patient you become, the more inherently stable you are. See? And that stability only exists deep, deep, deep within. See, so if you see a very, very patient person, they, whether consciously or unconsciously, have a greater connection to their solar self. Because that's a stable condition. See? So this is what we have to work on, is trying to maintain a condition as opposed to control a process. Process will happen. The river will flow. Let it be. Let things work out. Dial back your sense of dominion. Focus greater on condition, your inner condition. So if you feel yourself going out on the edge and getting more frustrated, take a deep breath. Where is the peace? Hold the peace. Hold the peace. So that becomes our focus, as opposed to trying to control the world. We're going to live 100 years or so. How many people have controlled the world?
Zero.
One way or the other. I don't care how big a guy you were, how rich you got. Did you control the world? I don't think so. You didn't control your health. No matter how much money you had, all the billionaires, they're still coming down with cancer, and they're still catching colds.
Same phones.
They still have a wife that loves them, or a wife that doesn't love them, or a kid that's happy with them, or a kid that's not happy with them. They don't control anything. Look at all these actors taking drugs. Well, they wouldn't be taking drugs if they were happy with the way the things were going. So they're medicating themselves with alcohol and drugs, trying to control the world. Of course, it's a disaster. So we have to realize that the notion of complete dominion is a fallacy. It's a fallacy. It's inherent frustration. So let's try to find a stable condition within and then try to function from that, as opposed to trying to manipulate the world in 10,000 ways to enhance our sense of dominion. See? Things are going to happen, things are going to work this way or that way, but we can bring a condition to the table as opposed to attempting to manipulate the condition. See? It's a vibe or an energy we bring to the world, not all the actions we do. You can have someone, doing all kinds of great philanthropic work and manipulating thousands of lives, and you can have some simple grandmother just holding her peace with her prayers. Do you think that grandmother is less than that big flame? No, not at all. Not in the eyes of God. Not in the eyes of God. See? Who maintained the closest relationship to the internal condition of God within? That's the greater light. One has a big show, they're doing all these big fancy things. The other's sitting there knitting and taking care of her grandkids. But she may be the greater soul. She may be the more potent soul. She may be the more dynamic soul in healing the world, though nobody sees her. See? Because she's holding on to the condition, not exercising a sense of dominion. Even though it might be positive dominion, it's still You trying to control the world. It means you want to paint on God's canvas. The saints allow heaven to paint through them. They become instruments of the kingdom. So they have no personal stake or personal statement in the world. What they're trying to simply be is a channel for God's statement in the world, God's action in the world. See, it's not their action in the world. See, so they're all playing to God, that they become a more perfect instrument. See, they're not seeking to do their own thing. So this is all the process that we have to go through, this process of attunement, and then have God flow through us. We become the hands, the fingers, the agents of the kingdom, as opposed to coming to the earth as mini moguls. As a mini mogul, there's no peace, none at all. And if there's no peace, there's no patience, because you want to change it your way. See? So it's simple to go within, ask for God's will, and simply do it, large or small. Then the world is okay. The world is okay. You have complete patience with the world, because you're no longer the architect. There's no longer a right or wrong for you. There's no more right or wrong, just the divine process. And if heaven makes you do something big, fine. Something small, fine. No more sense of dominion. You're peaceful with all things. That's why the saints can become a universal friend. See? They're patient with everybody. They're patient with everything, because they realize they're not the regulators. They're not the controllers. They're not the creators. As long as you think you're the creator, there's going to be impatience. This didn't go my way. Physically or emotionally or mentally, it didn't go my way. So impatience. As with the saints, they become patient, because this is not their canvas. Yes.
Yeah, the same canvas I was thinking about. If I throw the colors and just keep on throwing some colors here and there, thinking that I'm going to draw something, then keep on throwing, and then after some time I come back, I get frustrated with the same color, which I may not know that I threw it, but because it's long time back, keep on throwing things. Then later when I look at, I do not even know that I'm the one put this ugly colors, and when I look at back, I see it's so ugly and doesn't make any sense. Then I get frustrated with those colors which I threw, thinking that I'm not the one, someone did it. Is that possible? This kind of way of thing, things happen.
That's one scenario. Certainly that can be.
Can be. So by seeing my own actions, previous actions, creating certain pictures or colors.
Because again, it's inherently unstable.
Unstable.
So you're constantly changing, and then you're constantly judging. And then there's frustration. With every judgment, there's a degree of frustration. With every judgment, there's a degree of patience or impatience. See? So the thing is, part of the reason that inherently we're all creative beings, because we're endowed with part of the reality, which is inherently creative. But we're looking at the world through like a straw. So we have a very narrow vision of what the world really is. And we want to manipulate what we see. As we're in the inner reality, you're focusing within, and then you're seeing the greater creation. As you start to witness the greater creation through the process of prayer and meditation, you see this infinite beauty, infinite creativity, and we become satisfied and saturated with a sense of awe and beauty. So when we become aware of that great beauty, of that infinite creativity, we no longer have this great desire to control it here. We're trying to create beauty, manipulate manifestation, because we think that we have the deluded notion that if we don't do it, it doesn't happen. But when you enter into higher conditions, you see this infinite creation. So there's a sense of satisfaction. There's a sense of creative satisfaction. You know this unimaginable infinite beauty is constantly being created. And there's a sense of awe. All the saints and yogis live with a sense of awe. And their sense of desire for doership gets minimized, because they see all this grand creation going on, and they realize there's no way they could even do 1/1000th of what they're witnessing. You know? It's like the ant and Mozart. We realize we're an ant, but we get to see all of this fantastic wonder. So there's a sense of satisfaction that you're simply part of it. You know, you don't have to control it. You're just happy to be in the audience. See? As we're average man, average human being, doesn't see the infinite, unimaginable beauty of creation that's going on. So they want to create that. But they don't know it's already happening. They don't have the vision of it's already happening. So they have a sense of mandate. I must create. I must do. And it's only they must create, they must do, because they have no awareness of the infinite beauty, infinite creation that's already going on. So they think, oh, it must not be happening because I'm not aware of it. So I'll do it. I'll create the universe. I'll create nature. I'll make it right. I'll make it perfect. We want to make it perfect because inherently there's a hidden perfection in us from the kingdom. So we want to manifest that in the world. But we're blind to that it's already happening. It's already happening. See? The creation is already there. The infinite beauty is already there. So humans are trying to do the right thing. But they're trying to do the right thing with a minimal knowledge. See? They don't realize that the canvas, the infinite permutations have already been created and are infinitely beautiful. But we don't see that as human beings, as non-meditators, as non-communers. So because we're not aware of it's already happened, we're going to try to create it ourselves. See? So it's a lack of knowledge, a lack of awareness of we're trying to paint a canvas that's already been painted. See? It's already been done. There's no need. But as little egoic beings, without the grander vision, we think it needs to be. And we think, I need to do it. See? As opposed to simply resting and becoming aware of your place in this infinite permutation of beauty, infinite permutation of creativity, that you have a place within it, that you are it. See? So seeing that we don't know we are it, we seek to create it. See? That's the human problem. So the saints tell you, so when you're sitting there, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of meditation, and the teacher's telling you, stop thinking, stop creating. Why do you think they're telling you that? Your ego wants you to create. As long as you want to create, you won't see what's going on. See? Because you're concentrating on your canvas, not the canvas. See? As long as you want to create. So the teacher says, it takes the time. I have to sit 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. It's just releasing your sense of creation so that you can see beyond your notions to the reality. See, beyond your psyche. So we're bound in our physical, emotional, and mental psyche. We're bound in it. There are 3 knots wrapping us up. And we're trying to see the universe through 3 distorted conditions, 3 distorted lenses. See, and it's only until we can neutralize them can we have a clear vision, a clear insight into what is going on. See, these 3 lenses of perception, the body, the emotions, and the mind, are lenses of perception in nature. In nature means still not perfect. See? Always changing. What element of nature can you experience that's not changing? If you have a lens, and the lens is always modulating, isn't the vision constantly changing? No stability. If there's no stability, it's not real. It's not real. See? Truth is truth is truth. It's an unchanging condition. That reality, that God, is an unchanging condition. See? So this is the thing that we have to do. That's why all the prayers, all the puja, all the mantra, all the meditation is slowly refocusing our attention, taking all of the energies of nature and making us focus inward, 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 so that we have a clear lens of perception. That's what you're doing in meditation, creating a clear lens of perception. All the puja, all the mantra is cleaning you, cleaning the lenses. See? Cleaning everything up, cleaning the distortions, cleaning the rubble, all the forms of physical and psychic rubble, getting it out of the way. And then meditation is coming to the perception of the reality, the truth. See? And that you are part of the body of that truth. You're part of it. You're not outside of it. It's you. It's you. See? You in an unlimited state, not you in a limited state. So all this is very high metaphysics. But this is why it takes so many births. It takes so many births to bring this type of culture and to acquire this kind of patience. See? Patience. To let things work out. Let nature flow. Let people work out their karmas. See? That we're not the arbiter of those things. Let all the karmas work out. And that we're witnesses and we're a divine energetic condition. We become a type of living blessing in the circumstance. See? Each yogi, each saint, each master becomes a channel and a blessing. So all these people, all these thousands of people, and with all these infinite types of karmas, or every one of them is praying, God, give me a break. You know, the yogic process is the 10,000 hidden faces of God manifesting that blessing that you were asking for. See? We can't, as a human being, be aware of all the infinite karmas of any one human being. As a human being, we can't do that. But as an agent of God, we can do what's appropriate as per God's blessing, as per God's will. See? To help that person along. See? Just like that lady at the counter who was going through her credit cards and going through her debit card and all this kind of stuff. As a human being, we could be frustrated or impatient. As an agent of God, we can pray for her. We can see, oh, she has a karma of poverty right now. What blessing can be manifest as a witness, as an agent, as a witness and agent, as opposed to a human being who will just become frustrated. This lady is wasting my time. Doesn't she know there's no money in the bank account? See? See? You're standing in different places. See? The mini mogul is judging. The one who dials back and holds on to the divine condition becomes a blessing. See? Different places to stand. Any questions? Any thoughts? Did you think this was going to be a dull topic? Patience?
So would you say that patience is one of the facets or pathways towards your essential self that's also interwoven, or another facet?
It's an expression. It's an expression. It's an expression of your inner reality.
Yeah.
The greater the patience you have, the greater the attunement is there. Patience is a condition of stability. Stability is deep within. See?
So would you say that it's interwoven, or another facet of channeling your deeper empathy or compassion?
Oh, definitely.
Towards,
Definitely.
So
Patience and compassion are together. They're sisters. You know, they're close sisters. Yeah, definitely. definitely.
Because I feel like whenever I get frustrated, I try to kind of walk in other people's shoes to see, to kind of feel their condition.
Sure, sure. That's a more enlightened path. You know, it gets deeper. That's deeper. You're not putting yourself first. You know, you're trying to create a harmony, empathy, a compassion, and that's a deeper way. A deeper way. So you have that way because of you've exercised those in past those conditions in past birth. That's why you have that and that have that notion. Now the key is to continue the work so that you become more empowered, more insightful, more useful to the kingdom in bringing those energies or in bringing those blessings to the table. See, so that you have a profound mooring in the kingdom. See, so the thing is just continue the work, continue what you're doing, you know, but bring the sacred practices on board so that there's greater understanding, see, and simpatico with the kingdom. See, we're all to work. That's the thing, is learning to work in communion with the kingdom, in harmony with the kingdom, with humility before the kingdom. See, how many people think I'm going to work with humility before God? That's not in most people's heads. You know, Raj has just opened up this Facebook account, and now I'm actually getting to see what people are thinking. Oh my God, it's frightening for me. It's shattering my mind. Is this what people are thinking about? Oh my God! Oh my God! You know, I don't know what to say. I have no. I can't even express my confusion as to this is what people are thinking. This is what they're putting their concentration on. Highly, extraordinarily unfortunate. You know, which means extraordinary, unfortunate suffering. Even though they may be doing playful good things, but you hear no mention of God, or tiny, infantile mention of God. You know, which means no concentration on stable conditions. Everything is on there is unstable. So it can't be happy. You know, if it's constantly changing, there's constant tension. Between every change, there's a tension. I'm thinking, oh my God. You know, you wonder why yogis live in caves and deep in the forest. It's to get away from that psychic noise, that psychic tension. And I'm looking for a cave right now. Get me out of here.
Hari, you weren't meant to read any of that. You just meant to announce stuff through it.
Yeah, well, I took a look. It was frightening.
It's a Facebook account of.
You know, Raj set it up.
For Hari.
Yeah.
What is the name
Haricharan.
of that?
I'll send it to you.
I don't want
Yes.
this.
Okay.
All my friends asked me to connect Facebook. I said no. Please.
Yeah. Well, definitely my digestion was disrupted. So, yes, any questions? Nima?
He was trying to get.
Yeah, my attention. Any other thoughts? Any questions? Have we sort of broached this topic? Yeah. Okay, then we're going to wait for everyone to reconnect, and then we'll chant Om and call it a day. No other questions?
I've got to say, I was very angry when I came in here. I'm not an angry person, but when I heard what you were saying, it makes complete sense. There's an internal frustration about what I want to create, which is that sense of peace, but
Sure.
not always having it. So
Yeah.
experiencing the
Right. Ups and downs.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to chase after the condition. And then that's,
Thank you.
you know, every saint has their head bowed. You should always ask why. Our heads are bowed because we don't know. But we know who knows.
Right.
Heaven knows. So we do this. and then heaven will tap us on the head and give us some understanding in some directions. So the thing is, we are not masters of the universe. We have to be humble that there is a master of the universe, and that it's best simply to become attuned so that we can fulfill our role as per the will of the kingdom. See, we all want daisies and flowers and good things to happen, but we want it to happen our way. And the problem is we don't have clear vision, so our way is never correct. It always has an element of corruption in it, even though it might be a good instinct, but it's not executed well because of lack of vision. The vision lies there, so we have to become humble and then take our instructions, and then we'll do our bit. See, that's all we want, just to do our bit as per the will of God. Our bit as per the will of God, and that's it. We let the river flow. Let all the infinite permutations of the world be as they are. Some are beautiful, some are horrid. But we just hold on to the condition and do our bit as per the will of God. And all of this will work its way out in the course of time. All the karmas will be balanced in the course of time. See? But that has the vision of all of it. We only have the vision of a bit of it. So we just have to realize where we are. Where we are and what we are. Okay? So we'll say we'll chant Om again 3 times and sit for a few minutes. So you'll take a deep breath in. Gently take a deep breath in. And then release the breath. And then you can gently open the eyes. Thank you one and all for coming.